And The Flash 1 Minute War Special is written by Jeremy Adams with art by Fernando Pasarin, Serge Acuna, George Cambates, with inks by Matt Ryan, Jason Paz, and Lisandro Esteran, colors by Matt Erms, Rebecca Nalty, and Patricio Del Peque. And this special covers 4 stories, with the first one taking place in the distant past and giving us the history of the Fraction. In it, we learn they used to be a developing planet until their scientists managed to tap into the Speed Force, and the first subject was Captain Vel Anthro. And after they discovered the power the Speed Force could bring, they quickly developed into a world that became no longer self-sustainable. They decided to begin mining other planets, those on the brink of destruction, and after coming into contact with a natural speedster, learned that they could then traverse the multiverse, which expanded their territory. Soon though, this proved to be unsustainable as well, and they would have to begin extracting the life on planets. Vel Anthro agreed to the conquest, but only if the Empress agreed to marry him, of which she did. And this first story is a great start to the issue because it gives us a definitive origin to the Fraction. We learned a bit about what they were like before the Speed Force, then after they tapped into the Speed Force, and effectively how developing themselves too quickly more or less destroy their planet. Because that's what it's about, isn't it? This is a society that abused their own natural resources to make their world as big as humanly possible, or in this case, as fractionally as possible. And when they ran out of those resources, they're like, yep, we gotta go and start taking them from other planets. And I'll admit at first, yeah, it makes sense. Picks, the resources from worlds that more or less don't have anything left to give. But of course, as you continue to expand and get bigger, what you get from a dying planet just won't cut it anymore. And so we get to see that development of the Fraction from otherwise a curious society to one that doesn't care how many people they have to kill as long as it keeps their planet and their society going. Which takes us to our second story, with this one being placed in the present, and it is about Avery, aka the Flash of China. As it starts, her soul is sucked into a magical stone by a villain named Dr. Wu, who wants to destroy the world. However, he freezes in place as Fraction soldiers enter to take Dr. Wu, and while out of sight, Avery manages to follow them and jump on the outside of their ship, but is quickly discovered. Though they try and shake her off, the stone reacts and sends out a blast, creating a hole in the ship that Avery can get through. She then manages to take out the soldiers, destroy the stone to get her soul back, and save Dr. Wu. And I'll say that this was a fun story, because on one hand, it is always nice to see Avery, because Avery is one of those characters that I really enjoyed from Joshua Williamson's Flash run. And I also like seeing the perspective of another, because as far as the main Flash title goes, we've got Wally's perspective, Barry's perspective, Max Mercury's perspective, Jesse Quick, Irie West, and pretty much the entire Flash family. So now that Avery has been made aware of the situation, she'll probably rush to seek out Barry or Wally and just start to ask those questions. And of course, gives Team Flash another fighter in this war. And I will say, I did enjoy this to the point where, you know what, I wouldn't mind reading an Avery solo series. Which now brings us to the third tale, in which 3 Fraction soldiers, Theta 1, 2, and 3 respectively, decide to check out a mansion where a party is taking place. However, things soon become apparent that they are not alone. It begins with a thumping sound, and when they split up to search, Theta 3 enters the kitchen and is stabbed from behind. Theta 1 contacts Theta 2, when suddenly Theta 2 is heard screaming over the intercom. Theta 1 rushes to help his comrade, but is knocked down from behind as he now faces down the killer, who is actually Godspeed, of whom is also the last person Theta 1 sees alive. And hey, Godspeed, I haven't seen him since... Oh, right. Mom broke his neck. How's Godspeed alive? Did he have a Speed clone? Is this a new Godspeed? Either way, this section was awesome. Because I like how it just starts off with, 3 Fraction soldiers. They're sort of just kind of looking down like, yeah, look at all this green and water. Too bad our planet's not like that. Oh yeah, that's right. We're gonna steal it. And then they decide to check out a mansion, which honestly could not have looked more ominous if they had thunder strikes and lightning in the background. It was definitely one of those instances where I saw that mansion sequence and I'm like, yeah, these guys clearly don't have horror movies on their world, otherwise they would have seen all the warning signs. I mean, even before all of the killing actually starts, when the Fraction soldiers walk into the mansion, I mean, if you look at the faces of all of the people just about in the ballroom and stuff, I mean, they have these really like horrific stretched smiles and it almost looks like the Joker was there. But it's just fun how it went from, you know, 3 invading aliens exploring to a slasher story. And while I'll say tonally it doesn't fit with the other 2, I don't care. It was fun. I mean, I'm gonna need Jeremy Adams to follow up on the whole Godspeed thing and how he's still alive, but still, I mean, for a nice short story in this special, I dug it. Of which we now arrive at the 4th and final story in this special, which takes us into the future and features a grown-up Jay West doing battle against the Fraction, who took his brother. However, the Fraction forces are pretty overwhelming and he calls out the Flash, who is now Irie West. But she is moving through the multiverse and hypertime, so Jay's assistance comes in the form of the Gold Beetle, who easily takes out 4 Fraction ships. Gold Beetle then jumps down from her ship, and it's clear these two have met before, as after she hears Jay's name, immediately kisses him. And after ceasing activity, Gold Beetle decides she's going to help Jay get his brother back, and that they'll be seeing a lot of each other, of which Jay likes the sound of that. And the first thing to that is Wally and Linda are having a boy. We now know what the baby's gonna be, yay! But otherwise, it is a nice look into the future as we get to see a grown-up Jay, and I gotta say, I'm digging the costume. It's cool to see that he's got a nice full grasp on his powers now, how he's, you know, able to utilize the Speed Force more efficiently to power his strength, and also through his caption boxes, which is more or less his journal or, action log. That at some point during the 1 minute war, Irie is going to take Jay and just use him as a baseball bat or something. Because yeah, I really want to see that. Also, really cool that Irie gets to become the Flash. I mean, we know that her and Jay become superheroes when we go back to, like, say, the Flash issue 771, where, you know, Wally takes over his son's body, like, just for a few scenes before, you know, going into the final part of that arc. And it's there, Irie tells him that, yeah, me and Jay, we're gonna grow up, we're gonna be superheroes, and she shows him her suit, and, you know, it does look, a bit different. Which I will say, I do like the look of that suit better in issue 771 than I do here. But then again, the way the suit was framed, it wasn't like a full good look at it. But, you know, the pseudo Kid Flash, you know, mostly yellow with red accents, it just does it for me in terms of design. And speaking of that story arc, hey, Gold Beetle's back, which is great, because I like this character. She's got good, fun energy, and overall was a good way to cap off the end of the special. First story gave us that Fraction origin. Second story gave us a fun hero story with Avery. Third story was the return of Godspeed, somehow. And fourth, a look into the future of the West twins. And given the whole perspective of like multiverse and time and whatnot, I'm actually wondering if, you know, all of these story points could potentially converge if adult Jay and Irie West meet up with, you know, maybe their dad in the past, and then we get this big battle of speedsters and, you know, giant Team Flash family. I mean, it could happen, right? And when discussing the art, it varied over the course of the 4 issues, with each story having a different artist. In the first story, Pasarin used a lot of, you know, wide shots, of which I think is definitely one of his strengths, because he's good at, you know, getting those wide shots and being able to kind of like hone in on those details. Kuna has that, you know, kind of modern day superhero look that I like into a comic book. Esterin has this dark, melancholy feel to the Godspeed storyline that also emphasizes, you know, the horror aesthetic of the book. And Kamadas has the most, you know, cartoonish presentation with these, you know, long exaggerated arms and legs, and it, to a degree, kind of gave me Incredibles vibes. And particularly in that story, the shot with Irie West and all of like the different multi-Earths behind her was really interesting. I mean, we had Red Sun Superman, and, we also got the deceased world behind her, and in one even got a shot of the Jurassic League. And although I really liked all of these stories, if I had to kind of place them from, say least favorite to most favorite, I would do them with Jay's story, Avery's story, the Fraction Origin, and the Godspeed Slasher Horror, because that story was just king. And with that, I'm going to score the Flash 1 Minute War Special a 9 out of 10. So Flash 1 Minute War Special, what did you think about this book? If you've read it, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with some friends, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and ring that notification bell for more comic book content. And if you're wondering what's to watch next, consider one of these 2 videos. Alright, take care, have a great day, and as always, stay geeky.